Hey, Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark, and today we're checking out some more relationship stories. And if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Well, let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now, today's first story comes from Molly Ringworm00 and says, me, 27 female, with my boyfriend, 29 male of 2 years. He keeps promising to go on family trips with me, then backs out at last minute. He won't give any reason why. So my family is kind of lovably weird in that they plan family trips well ahead of time to ensure a good deal on a rental house. I'm talking 7 to 8 months. When we booked this year's vacation, I let Sam know the dates. I told him it would be the last week of July. I didn't expect him to remember it forever then, but thought I would give him the idea so we could both keep it in mind. I mentioned it casually, maybe once a month as a reminder. Like as in, oh, my dad wants to go on this hike. And several times he would say, oh yeah, what were those dates again? And I would tell him. He even told my parents that he would go for the weekend of the week-long trip. They love him and they were so excited. He said that he would be able to come up for the first part of the trip for a weekend. I was completely fine with that. While I love my family, I recognize that SO may not want to spend a week with someone else's family. I should add, I didn't expect him to use any PTO. He was toying with using 1 day, which I was thrilled by. The trip was paid for by my family, house, food, alcohol, etc. It's a 3-hour drive away, in a place he loves. I should add that last year when my family was going to go to the beach for a week, I mentioned the trip a few times and he got annoyed. I felt weird about it and stopped asking. I don't mean I was being obnoxious, I probably mentioned it once a month or so. Because he got annoyed, I stopped mentioning it for a month or two before the trip. About 2 to 3 weeks before the trip, I asked him what his plans were. He said he had spaced and completely forgotten, and that he would be on call. It's non-medical. It's people calling out a shift, so he has to be in town, even though it requires no action, that week, and couldn't go. I was so disappointed. I really wanted to spend time at the beach with him and was only asking for a weekend. I talked to him about it a couple of times, and I asked if he was nervous to spend time with my family, or didn't like something about them. He reassured me that was not the case. We got into a fight and he said that he felt like he was a kid that missed an assignment and I was a teacher. It was really our first argument. This was almost 1 year into the relationship. He has hung out with family maybe once a month or every 2 months for a couple of hours. We tend to do a meal and talk for a couple of hours, then go see his folks and do the same thing. His family doesn't take a yearly week-long trip, so I understand if it feels strange to him. But I don't see him not wanting to spend 2 nights as a big huge ask. The kicker is that earlier this year, he complained that I had too many trips. I occasionally do girls trips with my friend, and I've tried to plan an occasional trip for him that I think he and I would like. He loves camping, so a camping trip with reasonable distance in a city we both want to see, for example. When he said this, I said, I will make an effort to cut back on the trips, but I don't want you to feel like you have to come on all of the trips. I want you to feel comfortable. The only trip I care about you coming on this year is spending a weekend with me and my family in the mountains. Maybe he forgot I said this, but this really sticks out to me. Essentially, I gave him a ton of notice. Said it was really important to me. He told my parents and my sweet grandma that loves him that he would come for the weekend. Then last week, less than 3 weeks before the trip, I asked him what his schedule is like for July. He lets me know that, unfortunately, he's going to be on call that entire week and can't make it. He can, however, make it to the other trip going on that month to go to a party at a friend's place. Plans that were made several weeks ago. I was so disappointed. He told his work that the only week he couldn't be on call was the party house weekend. He didn't even attempt to ask me when the family trip was. I asked him why he didn't and he said, well, we did schedules at 4 PM. It's kind of a weird time to text you. It's not. He offered to come up Thursday night, which is the last night of the trip, so he would arrive Thursday night and we would leave Friday morning after cleaning the house that morning. That does not sound like fun to me. I said no worries on coming up for the last night. Honestly, I don't even want him to come at this point. He didn't offer any other alternative, so I could absolutely tell he isn't interested in coming. We were supposed to move in together, but this plus a bunch of other stuff, I sat him down a couple of days ago and said I can't move in. There are just too many concerns. He was upset but said he understood. The other concerns on my end include him not being super verbal, him not wanting to talk on the phone or text much. This has gotten slowly painfully better. Him not being incredibly motivated to switch jobs. He's been miserable for years and I've helped him edit his resume, sent links, tried not to say anything, tried being supportive. I tried everything. I know it's up to him. Different drives, his being much lower. Different ideas of often to go out. I like the occasional brewery and he'd prefer to stay at home and watch Netflix. Different ideas of diet. He doesn't really like fruit or veggies and eats out a ton. Getting a little better, but I eat fairly healthily and I exercise 3 to 4 times a week. Honestly, sometimes I wonder, is he even that into me? Then he will come over and be all cuddly and sweet and excited to see me. I've never experienced something like this confusing before. The verbal stuff and texting and eating were getting better, so I naively thought he could come on this trip this time. He is sweet and kind and funny and very affectionate and loving and caring, but I think I have hit my limit. Am I being unreasonable here about the vacation? Is it ridiculous to expect an SO to come on part of a family trip 2 years in? Now, I can't help but feel in this situation my Columbo senses are tingling right now. There's every chance he doesn't want to be around your family for whatever reason, but I think he's holding some kind of secret here. And to me in this, regardless of everything else, he's just showing you where his priorities lie. But King Lee says, here's something that may not have been mentioned. The lack of respect for you by feeding you lies children won't even believe. It's an inconvenient time to text you. What? Does he think you are dumb? I'd rather he tell you he's not comfortable around your mum and dad, or that he finds hanging out with your family exhausting or whatever reason, than to insult your intelligence and give a stupid lie. Mrs. Thor says he's proven himself to not make you or your family a priority. Family trips are a big indicator to see how compatible a guy is in a long-term relationship. He's shown you he doesn't care enough to take this trip seriously. Girl, it's time to move on to someone who loves you and your family and will take these steps seriously. Related, my family also takes a week-long planned in advance family vacations. Both I, 24 female, and my sister, female 21, have taken our SOs and they have made the time and effort to be there, with no convincing or goading because they care about us and love our family. Another user says he doesn't like spending time with your family, and based on the many other issues, I don't think this is going to last much longer. He doesn't think it's going to last much longer, and that's why he doesn't want to spend time and invest in a better relationship with your family, because it doesn't matter much to him. Planning a trip that far in advance is common, even normal, especially for the summer. Imagine if your family had been booking flights and hotels, and then he backed out 3 weeks prior. Hope he said thanks for reading and responding. That absolutely could be the case. The thing is, he was so upset when I said we shouldn't live together a few days ago. I really think this is his maximum effort, but it's nowhere near the effort I am used to from an SO. I don't know what I'm even doing at this point. Telling my parents and grandma and sister he wasn't coming was tough. I can't imagine if plane tickets were involved. Moppet says, and quotes, he's been miserable for years, and then says, do you think depression and or anxiety has something to do with all of this? It could explain why he initially promised to come, but now is backtracking on his promise. He might feel anxious. Opie says it could be, though I've grown up close to depression and I don't see those signs. It seems more likely he's a homebody that just doesn't want to put in the effort. While he has disliked the on-call part of his job, there are parts of it he truly enjoys and seems to be really happy with. All other aspects of his life, it very well could be, but I don't see anxiety or depression manifest in other aspects of his life. And one more comment from Dan Purple Dress, who says, I think you will be long-term unhappy with this guy. Making each other a priority is important to you, not at all to him. Annoyed with you wanting to confirm plans, completely disregards that you want him to be included, and then gets annoyed when he should have been just honest that he had no intention of going. I'm sure this also affects other parts of your life. His plans are important, your plans not so much. His desires are important, yours not so much. Travel and vacation with friends and family is important to you, it's not to him. So not important to him that he's upset about how often you do go away. There is some give and take to be expected in every relationship, but I just don't think you are compatible. You're giving in and giving up way too much. You're a lovable person. You can be a little picky about who you let love you. Staying with this guy means you're closing yourself off from someone who loves you and wants the same things as you. The OP does update the post and they said, well, it's been 3 weeks and a lot has happened. First of all, thank you to everyone that took the time to read and respond. I sat him down the day after making that post and I broke up with him. He was devastated. Didn't see it coming at all, even though I had said we should wait to live together and we'd had a discussion about me being unhappy. I didn't cry. I wasn't even that upset. I think it tells me that I was getting over the relationship slowly and I had known for a while that it wasn't meant to be. I mentioned the trip situation as well as the different sex drives and some other reasons. He asked if there was anything he could say or do, and I said no. I was very nice to him but very firm that it was over between us. I left that evening and we met up a week later to talk at his request. We have some friend overlap, so I thought it might be best. He told me he never thought I would leave, and never even crossed his mind that I would ever be frustrated enough to go. He said that several times, but he always thought there was always tomorrow to make things better. That was odd to me. I mean, we had like 5 to 6 conversations over the 2 years with me saying, hey, I'm not feeling loved and I'm not feeling fulfilled here. Here is where it gets bizarre. He told me that the reason he hadn't wanted to hang 2 nights in a row ever and just did his own thing, never wanted to grocery shop together or do things, was that he was preparing for moving in together for a full year by getting in as much bachelor time as he could. I asked if this was a conscious decision and he said yes. That just blows my mind. I asked him if he thought making the relationship weaker made sense for me to want to move in with him. He said, well, when you put it like that, no. R/relationships, I'm baffled. I don't know whether to believe that explanation or not, but it really doesn't matter. I just affirmed I made the right decision, something I have not doubted for a second. Of course, now he's all chatty Cathy and trying to show me he cares, but I told him we need to not talk anymore. There's literally nothing he could do that could change my mind. I told him that an effort after a breakup feels hollow to me, and that I don't want a foundation like that for my relationship. That actions taken after a breakup are typically just to reduce pain. They aren't real change, but if he wanted to hang more with me or initiate sex with me, etc., he would have, especially after many conversations. Oh, and the low sex drive thing. Turns out he's addicted to pornography. He was lying about it the entire time. I never knew because we didn't spend time together for me to understand. And I of course never checked this stuff, so I had no clue. Usually I am intuitive, but I trusted him when he would turn me down and after I was gone on a 7-day trip, that it wasn't because he had done things a bunch. The fact that he was lying about it and chose to oversee me is so disappointing, but I know I can do a lot better. He told me he would think about me and want me, but it was just easier to do things himself rather than call me up. I told him numerous times I would love to spontaneously come over. It's a 15-minute drive, and he never once took me up on that. I'm not going to let it make me feel badly about myself though. I know there have been people in the past that really enjoyed sex with me, and there will be someone in the future. I am over it. He told me that it wouldn't be an issue if we got back together. That is insulting because either he just wasn't interested in sex with me but suddenly is if it means we can get back together, or he's just lazy about it or something. I don't know which is worse. He said he feels like he made the biggest mistake of his life. I know he didn't have a lot of relationship experience, but damn, 29 seems like a tough age to learn this particular life lesson, to value what you have and not take it for granted. P.S. I'm on the trip now with family and having an absolute blast. Not 1 ounce of me has missed him or wished he were here. That whole bachelor shit was really weird in the middle there for me. That he wouldn't hang around with you 2 nights in a row because he was getting in as much bachelor time as he could. Whew. Bullet dodged, I think. Can we all agree on that one? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. And our next story comes from MIL Throwaway, who says, am I the arsehole for leaving a fake positive pregnancy test in the bedroom to catch my husband's mum snooping? My mother-in-law moved in with us a month ago. I began to notice my stuff in the bedroom being touched, furniture rearranged, stuff moved, etc. I felt like I was going crazy because my husband is the only one who has access to the bedroom, and he doesn't usually touch nor come near my things. I figured it must be his mum walking in and snooping on my personal things. I told my husband and he said his mum would never. I had a huge hunch but couldn't install a cam in the bedroom to catch her in the act. So I got me one of those fake positive pregnancy tests and threw it in the bedroom's trash can. Note, the trash can was placed in the corner near the closet. Literally the next day after I got to work, I got tons of calls and texts from my in-laws congratulating me for my pregnancy. My husband came over to my workplace and was all worked up about it, asking when I was pregnant and why I didn't tell him. I asked how he found out and he said his mum found the positive test in the trash can in the bedroom. I asked if his answer just confirmed that she's been snooping in the bedroom all along. He had a realization moment but demanded we stick to the bigger issue. I said there was no bigger issue because the positive test was fake and this whole thing was done to expose my mother-in-law snooping. He was not convinced. He had me take an actual test right in front of him. He was livid, asking how I could lie about such a thing and break his mum's heart, since I know very well that she longs for kids. I got a lot of shit because of this from him, his mum, and family now calling me a liar and a manipulator. Am I the arsehole? Important info. Nothing gets taken or goes missing from the bedroom, just to be clear. Now, there was a part of me in this story on the initial setup of having the pregnancy test thinking, what if the husband finds it and then he's going to think you're pregnant and, it could cause all sorts of issues. But I quickly lost sympathy when, he wasn't convinced about your mother-in-law snooping, asking you to see the bigger picture here, and then asking you to take an actual test right in front of him. And he was livid. Cheeky bastard. But baby Margaret says, not the arsehole, but ordering a lock for the door and kicking mother-in-law out seems easier. If you were preg, how dare she announce it? So many red flags. One of you needs to go, and it shouldn't have to be you. Calico Cat says, if my husband ever demanded I take a pregnancy test in front of him, I would tell him only if he puts his head in the toilet while I do it. Pointless Geolocation says, not the arsehole, throw out that whole family. He forced you to take a pregnancy test in front of him. Psycho vibes. OP says, he did it after we got home. I couldn't refuse because he was waiting for me to prove I was telling the truth. Absolutely you can refuse. Who the bloody hell does he think he is? Gee whiz. Cyclonic Havoc says, lol, his mum is snooping through your things and he's worried about how much you hurt his mummy's feelings. I would kick mother-in-law out, like today. Your husband also needs therapy to help him work on not being so codependent on his mother as well. Not the arsehole. So what else is this crazy mother-in-law in this bedroom doing as well? Surely she's just not always looking for pregnancy tests in bins. There's got to be some other reasons. It's said that she's not taking anything. I've seen some random comments on there saying, check the protection that you use, that she's not poking holes in it and shit like that. A scary thought in itself, isn't it? But Procrastinator says, not the arsehole. 1, your mother-in-law is such an arsehole for snooping around. 2, your mama's boy husband dismissed your concerns. You could have asked her if she was going into your room, but he probably would have gotten mad at that too, which led to you believe you had to take drastic measures in order to have proof, because otherwise no one would back you up. 3, she had absolutely no right to announce your pregnancy. Imagine it had been true. She didn't care about hurting your feelings by stealing the opportunity to announce something so personal. She didn't even ask you privately first to make sure your husband already knew. But of course, privacy is not something she cares about, as we can see. 4, she's the one violating someone's privacy, and her feelings are hurt. She's trying to take everyone's attention away from the fact that she found out the wrong way. OP, don't let her. And one final comment from Chibi who says, it's not a lie if your mother-in-law sniffed around and dug up false intel she was not supposed to find. Had she been a normal, civil and polite guest who respects boundaries and does not snoop around in personal business. Honestly, the husband and his family sound like a nightmare. The question you should ask your husband is, you didn't want to believe me when I told you your mum was snooping around in my stuff. What was the right way to prove it to you? What was the acceptable thing to do? For all involved parties, including me. Because it did not only get started with your mother-in-law violating your boundaries, it continued with your husband not believing you. More than once, he made you take a pregnancy test in front of him. Why exactly? And then your mother-in-law continued violating your privacy by announcing your pregnancy to the whole town, robbing you of the occasion to the announcement yourself. But the issue, according to everyone, is not the snooping, it's not the distrust, it's not the boundary stomping, it's hiding something she wasn't supposed to see had she been a good mother-in-law. In a place she shouldn't have accessed had she been a good mother-in-law. Where is the lie? Where is the manipulation? Not the arsehole. Gee bloody whiz. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being involved. Truly, it's absolutely incredible. And hopefully, I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.
Wake up, get up, stretch my legs, eat some breakfast, milk and eggs, brush my teeth up, wash my face, throw my clothes on, start my day. Wake up, I can smell the smoke from the bacon. Let's go, see the sun shining from the windows. Okay, I know that today'll be a good day. Okay.